the Phrozen Sonic 4K. Let's give it a review. Hey guys, I've never played with a Phrozen printer before, so I was thrilled when Phrozen sent me their Sonic 4K for an honest review. I didn't film unboxing it as it was so easy, but I was instantly struck by this clear plastic protective wrapping. It's so tough and strong. Genuinely, it's hard to rip, and it struck me straight away that any company that cares so much about the quality of its wrapping must surely care a great deal about quality as a whole. The casing backed up this theory immediately. It's smooth, sturdy, and fully metallic. Look at these hinges. They're here to stay. I flipped open the lid and... hang on. Okay, it has a lift-off lid, and maybe dedicated photon users would prefer a hinged top. But I prefer the lift-off variety. Pulling off the top to get my hands on the goodies inside is something I've long enjoyed. That's what I was going to say. But this lid is fully metal, and not flimsy tinny metal either. Like the hinges, it's meant to last, and most importantly, it provides plenty of access to the interior. The accessories are sensibly stored inside. I've always wondered why other companies don't do this. Amongst the usual paraphernalia is a metal handle, which easily screws in place. The USB port is located on the left side of the machine, together with an Ethernet port for those that fancy networking their printer. Wi-Fi might have been a nice option, as many folks find it easier to set up, though personally I prefer the reliability of a cable. But in honesty, for true reliability, stick with the USB. That way updates and crashes won't interrupt your printing. The right side gives us a blank, so the rear of the printer houses a very quiet fan, the power point, and, annoyingly, the power switch. Now I like groping around the rear as much as the next guy, but I prefer my switches on the side where I can get at them easily. Inside we find the build plate, which is not that unusual, I know, but it is surprisingly light in weight. The top is nicely angled to help shed resin, and look at these notches. These engage with these location points and really help to lock the build plate firmly into position. It feels very secure. The dual rails are the widest I've seen, even wider in fact than those on the plus-sized Anycubic Mono X, and this serves to ensure extra stability, reducing the risk of plate wobble. This printer has metal everywhere, and that includes this lightweight but solid resin tank. And watch this. Why doesn't everyone do this? What a great way of locating the tank perfectly every time. Sure, there's a slight risk of stabbing or damaging the FLP if you're not careful, but if you can't manage that, you really shouldn't try handling a small resin print. Now, I don't like these, you've guessed it, metal fixing lugs. Anything small and removable will quickly be dropped and eaten by the dog in my house, but watch closely. Brilliant! The majority of the thread is removed from the upright bolts, meaning that just a couple of twists fixes things firmly and securely. Under the tray is the heart of this printer, a 4K monochrome LCD screen. Monochrome screens print much faster than traditional printers and last much longer. The Phrozen website reports a guaranteed 2,000 hours of use. It also lets us know that 4K is ultra high definition, printing at 35 micrometers with 722 pixels per inch, their highest so far. So we should expect some nice print quality here. The display screen is wonderfully large, the largest I've personally seen on a printer, which makes the menu pleasantly clear and easy to use. The provided USB stick contains some useful files, including Chitubox splicing software. A simple click of this will have it installed and almost ready to use. At least until the next Chitubox update, it will be necessary to manually add the printer to Chitubox, and thankfully there's a very clear PDF instruction guide to tell you how to do that. There's even a 4K resin configuration file, which again can be imported directly to Chitubox. Now Phrozen said they'd send me some of their aqua grey 4K resin, which apparently gets the best results from this machine. But it didn't come with the printer, and it won't arrive for another week or so. There's no way I could wait that long to try it, so I opted to use some Anycubic standard grey resin, which I already had. Unfortunately, that meant I had to guess at settings. You can judge the results for yourself in a while. It's time to calibrate the printer, and that means wading through the instruction manual or trawling through the internet for instructions. Not with the Phrozen. You've got to love that. Why don't all printers do this? It's such an obviously useful idea. Why haven't I seen it done before? Well done, Phrozen. On the USB stick is a test print, a ring. It adhered nicely to the plate, and after a little cleanup, nice. I print a fair bit of jewellery, and I'm very impressed with the crispness and definition I can see here. There are teeth on these little skulls that I actually can't see with the naked eye. Next I did the usual Amerilabs test print. I wasn't at all surprised to see that every single one of these little pins had printed, although I think I flattened some of them whilst cleaning it. But what did immediately grab my eye was all these tiny windows on the buildings. They seem so vivid and clear. I was so impressed I wanted something packed with detail to really put the printer through its paces. So I turned to ARCHVILLAIN games. These guys make some amazing miniatures. I fell in love with this berserker bear, perhaps because it reminds me of my wife. And the great thing about ARCHVILLAIN games is that for their patrons, they provide fully supported models. This of course takes all the guesswork out of things. So I loaded up the build plate, fitting everything on nicely. I'd reduced the layer height to 0.035, and at the advice of ARCHVILLAINs, halved the lift speed, as some of these supports are pretty thin. The print took a little over 7 hours. Everything stuck to the plate perfectly and printed without issue. The supports came away with absolute ease, and I used a little sandpaper to clean up. After a little spot of glue, here it is. Believe me, it's excellent. My filmmaking doesn't do it justice, nor do the blemishes left by my sanding. So I decided to add a little primer. Yes, I know, black primer. Not the cleverest idea. But I hope you can see the incredible detail here. The bear stands at 70mm tall, which is really hard to believe when you can see the hairs on his head, the rope belt around his waist, and the incredible definition on his armour. Can resin printers produce the same quality as mould injection? Well, this is a miniature from the Warhammer Age of Sigmar range. To me, this printer is easily capable of matching this detail. Now I know miniatures aren't everyone's thing, but they are a great way to demonstrate print quality and definition, and this Phrozen seems to exude that. For me, this is the best print quality I have personally produced. I know that's easy for me to say, so I thought I'd better have a go at putting it to the test. Let's compare it with the only other 4K machine I have, the Anycubic Mono X. Unfortunately, at this point I'd run out of grey resin, but this is just the standard Anycubic blue resin. The only difference should be the colour, and I'm happy with the settings that I've used. It was certainly looking good, but the only way to be truly sure was to prime both models. Well, that's hopeless. I can see a clear winner, but I don't think you can. Try these stills instead. It might seem a little subtle, but focus on the rope belt and the straps across the chest. Now look at the crispness of the armour on the leg and the fur on the hand. Again, the rope belt and the stitching below it. Here it's the armour on the shoulder. Compare the definition and the clarity. If you haven't guessed yet, the left figure was printed on the Mono X and the right figure was printed on the Sonic 4K. And before anyone complains, I know it's not a perfect comparison. The Mono X has a much larger surface area to span its 4K across, resulting in a lower pixels per inch print. But for print quality, I'd still say it's better than the other printers I own. So yes, it's subtle, but for me it's also very clear. If you're serious about print quality, whether it's for miniatures, jewellery, dentistry, engineering or whatever, then this Sonic 4K with its 722 pixels per inch is very, very impressive. But quality comes at a price, and if you're looking for a budget printer, you should look away right now. Yes, it's not cheap. It's not expensive, believe me, as there's plenty of 5-figure printers out there. But for an amateur or small business, this might seem pricey. But if printing quality and indeed build quality is important to you, then actually it's a bargain. I'd love to test it up against those 5-figure printers, as I genuinely think it would kick some backside. The good news is Phrozen also do the Sonic Mini 4K, which also prints at 722 pixels per inch, although apparently it's a little slower than the Sonic 4K. Now I haven't tested it, and I've no doubt there's lots of plastic on there to keep the costs down, but if it prints as well as this Sonic 4K, I'm sure it's a winner. In fact, our friends at ARCHVILLAIN Games are giving one away in a painting competition, but you'd better be fast if you want to enter, as the deadline is just a few days away. So, do I like the Phrozen Sonic 4K? Well, I'm annoyed that the switch is at the back, and I just know I'm going to be dropping those little fixings and end up chasing the dog. But I can live with the switch, and I certainly need the exercise. I've always expressed a preference for lift-off lids, but this hinged one is metal, it's sturdy, and it gets out of the way, giving you plenty of access. So do you know what? I now prefer this hinge lid. Not all hinge lids, but this one. This one hinge lid is my new favourite lid. It could do with Wi-Fi for those that don't like cables, but honestly, is it so hard to plug in a USB stick? And a dedicated cable is more reliable anyway. But then there's the quality. This printer oozes quality. There's more metal here than in the average scrapyard. Everything is solid, well engineered, sturdy, perfectly fitted, and reassuring in its substance. There's clever ideas here that should be on every printer, and for that alone, Phrozen deserves a big bag of praise. However, for me, it's all about printing, and I just can't get over how well it prints. I wish I had the camera equipment here to do it justice. And I know you guys have heard me say this before, but to date, this is the best printer I've used. If you own one of these, you'll be delighted with its build quality, its print quality, its quietness, its smoothness, and its general all-round metallic assuredness. It's a printer that deserves to stand apart, and for me it really does. Is it the best printer out there? Are there better, cheaper, higher quality and all-round sexier printers on the market? How would I know? I'm just an average Joe. I'm a user, not an industry specialist. But as a user, I can say this printer has me grinning like a kid at Christmas. I love it, and I'm sure you would love it too. Anyway, that's the end of this one, guys. I hope you found it helpful. As always, feel free to ask me any questions or post your comments below. So take care, guys, and thanks for watching.